It is January 21st, 2012. This is The Talking Dead, and I am Jason.
This is Paul.
How you doing, Paul?
I'm good. I think we already covered this a couple of times. We should probably just get right into this interview.
Well, people who are listening don't know,
That's
but
right. They don't know. We have spent like the last 15 minutes setting up.
no, we were attacked by zombies,
It's true.
and the zombies raided our home. But luckily, we have luck on our side because we have a man on the line with us who knows a little bit about zombies. And if you're a zombie fan, you definitely know this person. You've read his books. You love his books. And that man is Jonathan Maberry. And we're here to talk to him tonight about his book, Dead of Night. So welcome to The Talking Dead.
Pleasure to be here, guys.
Thank you so much. I'm very excited about this.
That should be fun.
I've kind of followed your work for a long time, at least for a couple of years, with Patient Zero, which Sideshow Collectibles, they make high quality collectible statues and stuff. I have a couple zombies and stuff here. They have one that is called Patient Zero, which is roughly $200, I think almost $300, and I almost bought it just because of the book.
Well, yeah, it's funny. Sideshow sent me one of those Patient Zeros. I had it on my table when I was doing book signings for quite a while. A lot of people thought that they did that because of the book, but it was just a really happy coincidence. And they interviewed me for their blog, for their website, and I've been a big fan of their product line for quite a while now. They've got some great stuff.
Yeah, they do awesome work. I have the priest zombie.
Nice.
I love that statue. But anyway, we're not here to plug Sideshow Collectibles. So I'm currently reading your book, Dead of Night, and I have to say, I'm not finished with it, but I will be done with it tomorrow, and I am having a fun time reading it. I find that it's action packed, and I find myself actually nervously awaiting to see what's going to happen next. Can you tell our listeners a little bit of what made you write Dead of Night and a little bit of the story?
Dead of Night is kind of, in a way, should have been the first zombie novel I ever wrote. It winds up being, I think, the fourth I've written, but the idea for it's been around for a long time. It was my answer to a question I've had since I saw Night of the Living Dead on its premiere in 1968 when I was 10 years old. I always wanted to know what happened first, because the story picks up with the zombie plague already happening, and I wanted to know what happened from the first bite, and I also wanted to know what caused it, because I never bought the whole radiation from a space probe thing. Even as a kid, I'm thinking, man, I love Romero, but he doesn't know his science. So I cooked up a scientifically plausible way to create zombies. And Dead of Night was written as a standalone that addresses what happens from the very inception of the plague. And it satisfied a need in me to read that book. So I had to write the book that I wanted to read.
So is that the main purpose why you don't use the supernatural zombies? It's usually human created?
Yeah, I've actually never liked the supernatural zombies. I'm very much a Romero-esque zombie fan. Or, even the 28 Days Later, Danny Boyle, or the new Dawn of the Dead, Zack Snyder's Fast Zombies. I like something that has some grounding in science, and most of my novels tend to be scientifically grounded. I kind of like what scares me is science getting off the leash, and these books allow me to explore that.
Yeah, I mean, that's definitely a very scary element of real life, is that there's that slight possibility that there could be something that would reanimate us, kind of like the 28 Days Later infection.
Well, the parasites in Dead of Night that science is pretty damn close to doable. I worked with a couple of parasitologists when developing the backstory, and we came up with something that is as close as science can get without really getting into the lab and messing, with the genes. So it's almost doable.
Yeah, your acknowledgments in the book are fascinating, because it's a huge list, and it has people from the Johns Hopkins University of Medicine. You have a specialist of infectious disease. You even go down to Homeland Security expert. People.
So
Well, that kind of started. Let's get back to it. That kind of started with a book I wrote a few years ago called Zombie CSU. I interviewed over 250 people from the real world, everyone from medical doctors and scientists to clergy to the press to lawyers to everybody, and Homeland, asking them how the real world would react if something like Night of the Living Dead happened. And every single person had not only was able to give me answers, but had already thought about it, including the guys at Homeland. And that is your tax dollars at work, by the way.
Wow. That's awesome.
Wow. So you have to have the creepiest Rolodex around.
Yes, you do. These guys love emailing me with new, weird, cool stuff. If they cook up something weird, they'll email me and say, "Oh, you got to know this. We can do this now, or we're gonna, 5 years, we're gonna be able to do that. Can you put that in one of your books?" I'm like, "Yeah."
Awesome. We are so close to killing off our race.
So the secret you just gave away is you're not actually writing your books. The Homeland Security and all these doctors and science.
Yeah, well, it's useful to have a whole bunch of experts who are providing the creepiest, coolest stuff.
Yeah, no, that's exciting.
When you first started using experts, because you always hear about stuff like this. People go, "Oh, well, for a role, I talk to these people in a movie and stuff like that." When you first approach someone about that, are they just kind of like, "What the hell?" at first, but then they get into it, or do you find they're pretty excited to share the gruesome stuff and talk about what they do from the beginning?
It's crazy. I actually expected people to blow me off when I first reached out, because prior to writing a couple of books on vampire folklore and then the zombie nonfiction book, all my stuff was magazine feature writing and college textbooks and stuff going back to the 70s. So I'm used to having a plausible thing like, yes, there was a fire. I talked to a guy who was who's an expert in that, and they give me straight answers. But then when I reached out about zombie stuff, I expected them to blow me off, and they're like, "Oh, no, we so thought about this stuff." All of them. I mean, a couple of the guys I talked to were on Nobel committee or Nobel nominees for science, and they're like, "Oh yeah, we thought about zombies. Yeah, we thought about vampires. We thought about all that stuff. Here's
great.
What we thought." And I had a couple of SWAT teams. I reached out to them and just asked, how would SWAT deal with this, because this was I was doing some of the research right after 28 Weeks Later came out, and the SWAT teams not only had already thought about it, they were pissed off because SWAT was given a very bad rap because of movies like 28 Weeks Later rather. So they actually ran fast and slow zombie scenarios for me, invited me there to watch. And I mean, this is surreal. These guys are doing Homeland. They ran the scenarios on fast and slow zombies, because they need a protocol for every possible thing.
It's amazing how much zombies capture everybody's imagination. I was watching CBS Sunday Morning, and it had a segment with Ben Stein on there. Usually he'll have 5 minutes or something where he talks about whatever. And he was talking about zombies, or just, I don't know, people's kind of craziness also. He said he had a friend that was really paranoid and wanted to buy bars for his house to put over the windows. And he said, "You live in a nice neighborhood. Why do you want bars?" And he said, "In case of a zombie outbreak." Seriously. And so he said, that's not what freaked me out. What freaked me out was when I told other people this, the question they all had was, is the guy crazy, but what kind of bars? It's, and I mean, even the CDC, because I make safety films for a living, so we keep up with the CDC. Even the CDC on their blog had how to prepare for a zombie outbreak.
Well, there's a little bit of a story behind that. They had been issuing, ever since around the time bird flu got on the radar, and people start, modern day people start really getting a fear of an epidemic. They kept issuing these statements on how we deal with different types of epidemics. And nobody freaking opened the emails. I mean, they would mass mail these things out. They would have it on their website. Nobody would go to it. So they cooked up the idea of just capturing the cultural zeitgeist and putting zombies in the same stuff. It was very few changes to the standard outbreak model. They just put zombies in there. They got so many hits, it crashed their server several times in the same day.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Which means thousands or millions of people now understand some basics of how to survive any kind of a plague because we understand how to survive a zombie plague.
Yeah, I mean, and we were last weekend. I was on a panel about zombies at MarsCon, and that's what we were talking about. That is like the zombie scenario. Even if you're into zombies or not, the zombie scenario is a perfect way to have fun at planning for any disaster. Because if you can prepare for a zombie outbreak, you're pretty much prepared for anything that's going to happen. And I like that the CDC took advantage of that, of the popularity of zombies, and educated people, tricked people into being educated.
Exactly. Well, there's a group called the Zombie Survival Crew. No, it's not it. Zombie Squad. Sorry, Zombie Squad. Mm-hmm. Who have been doing this for quite a while now. They've been doing these workshops based on a zombie outbreak, just to teach people basic preparedness. But Zombie Squad's been doing this, and they got regions all over the country, groups all over the country doing these preparedness workshops that are just good common sense preparedness. They just happen to make it more fun by having it a zombie outbreak.
Yeah. So personally, do you think it will really happen?
I don't think a zombie outbreak will happen unless somebody really pays attention to Dead of Night, because, as I said, it's doable. And the one parasite expert, he thinks it's so cool. He's like, I got to tell the guys about this. And by the guys, he was going to Switzerland to lecture at a parasite convention in Switzerland. Those are the guys he wants to tell about how easy it would be to create a zombie pathogen. And I'm thinking, oh Christ, great! I'm actually responsible for ending the world. That's going to look great on my resume. But I think a plague is more likely than, say, nuclear war. I know from the research I've done how vulnerable we're becoming because of misuses of things like antibiotics. We don't use them correctly. So many diseases are creeping back with resistance now. That's going to really bite us in the ass, and I think that's where the next big threat to mankind is going to come from. And that's not a conspiracy theory. The numbers, the math is there to support it, which is not comfortable.
And go ahead.
Oh, no. I was just thinking about what he's talking about, like MRSA and what is it? I used to know the whole name, but I can't remember. Methicillin-resistant Staphylococcus aureus or something like that.
Yeah, and there's a bunch creeping back. I mean, you've got new strains of tuberculosis, new strains of mumps. You've got things like cholera coming back, smallpox coming back. Things that should have been completely eradicated are no longer off the record. They're now back, and they're storming through third world countries. And every time it sweeps through a human population, it allows the disease to become stronger because of our failed attempts to stop it.
Right.
And so that is a uncomfortable doomsday scenario.
Wow. There are parasites, aren't there, that take over like an insect's body?
Like the ants and
That's really what Dead of Night's all about.
Yeah. I'm waiting until he's done with his copy.
It's
a good idea.
The jewel wasp is one
That's right.
Takes over a cockroach and gets it to defend its territory, to attack other things. There's a parasite that makes rats actually seek out cats because it breeds in cat urine and so on. I mean, there's a lot of different things out there. And nature is a cranky old bitch.
Definitely, I have to agree with that statement. But one of the things that you've done in your book that I have not seen anywhere else, and I love this aspect of it. I mean, we've seen movies and I've read books of where the storyline takes the side of the zombie. The story is based on how the zombie sees the world, but I've never seen what you've done in the book, where you've taken the infected, and it's almost like the human mind. The human is still in there and seeing what's happening, but can't do anything to stop it. Can you talk about that a little bit? Because it's fascinating.
That grew out of actually some things that are happening. I've had a number of experiences with family members and friends of family members of friends who have gone through Alzheimer's and dementia. My father-in-law, for example, is going through dementia right now, and he was a brilliant man, a great musician, and we see him like leaving bit by bit. And we know he's still there because he has these connected moments. And I'm thinking of how terrible it must be to be retreating within your own mind, to feel your fingers moving away from the controls. Yeah. So I just took that further with Dead of Night, where the consciousness is completely there, but it's unable to connect to the physical body. So it has to witness the horror that it commits. And to me, that's worst case scenario. It's the first idea I've come up with in my writing career that actually creeped me out.
It definitely
really creeped me out.
Yeah, it definitely sends chills because when you're reading it, I mean, it's written so well. I mean, it's very dramatic. It's very emotional. It's not just it's not just telling the story. It's describing it in detail of what's going on and the movements, like with Doc and everything. It's really well done, and it gives you goosebumps when you read it because it's just something that we've never seen in the zombie story.
Right.
Well, there's one thing that I always do with my writing, and I find it's the only thing that allows me to really write fiction with a total passion is it's got to be deep inside the hearts and minds of the characters. It's not just events. It has to be what a person is experiencing, because that's where the real emotions lie. I mean that if you just describe actions of a zombie attack, it's a video game.
Yeah.
It might be a fun video game, but there's no complexity or depth to it. There's no connection to the person reading it or watching it. And the way I write is I really want to connect with the experience of all the characters, even the villain, Homer Gibbon in the story. I want to connect with him to understand what goes on in his mind, why he does what he does. And that's as true with zombies as it is with humans.
Yeah, and you do a very, very good job at that.
Thanks.
On your site, speaking of the book, on your site, you're offering 6 like deleted scenes from the book.
Yes.
Can you talk about that and why you took this avenue? It's almost like a movie, bonus on the DVD.
Right.
Yeah, deleted scenes. Well, what happened is I kind of overwrote the book a little bit. I was having so damn much fun writing it that I wound up with more zombie attacks than I actually needed in the story. But at the same time, they were fun zombie attacks. And I did something kind of fun when I started the project. I started a contest where people had to post on Facebook or Twitter or my newsletter or other places if they were in a zombie story, how they wanted to die.
Nice.
And I picked the best ones. I was hoping to get 2 or 3 really good ones, and I got like a dozen really good ones.
Wow.
So some of them made it into the book, and some of them are the deleted scenes. And almost every person who's killed in those zombie attacks is a real person. Even Doc Hartnepp's a real guy.
Wow.
Lee Hartnett, he's an artist over in England. The cops are all real people. They're not necessarily cops in real life, but they're all real people. And most of them are in there because they come up with good ways interesting ways of how they wanted to die.
That's
so
awesome.
I had a lot of fun doing that. They would give me like a 1-sentence way of how they wanted to die, and I'd build a whole scene around that.
That's amazing.
And,
that's fun. I like that.
They all got free signed copies of the book too, as my thanks.
That's great.
Well, speaking of real people, you kind of take a fun jab, and I may have misinterpreted, but you take a fun jab at the modern legal thriller writer John Grisham.
Grisham.
And when they were he was in the reporting room. It's kind of not a really big part of the story, but I thought it was kind of funny that the way it was set up.
Well, there's lots of references to real world stuff. I mean, there's references to Stephen King in there too.
Yeah.
And it's funny because some people think that my opinion of Stephen King is the same as this one character's in the book. The one character doesn't like Stephen King. I actually love his stuff, and I've met Stephen, and I know his son Joe. It's just that the character doesn't particularly like Stephen King,
right.
So that character is expressing his viewpoint. The John Grisham thing, I've met John. He's a great guy. Read a few of his books. I know some editors who work with him. I threw that in there because I've seen that sort of thing of somebody just sprawled there asleep, a novel on their chest. And as a writer, I wondered, did the novel put them to sleep, or were they trying, or are they just simply they've got no life and they're just reading until anything puts them out, or So I left it open to readers' interpretation as well, and it's fun to poke a little bit of fun at my colleagues.
Yeah, and you seem to have a tight community with your colleagues. You do especially on your website and the other stuff you do. There just seems like it's always some kind of panel going on, like your Why Zombies panel that you have on there with all the other writers. You want to talk about that as well?
Yeah, well, I'm a big believer that writers should help other writers, that creative people should always be helping each other, because, I mean, the economy is a bear right now, and it's very tough to get along. It's very tough to get ahead. And there seem to be 2 camps within the creative community, and it's every creative community. One camp is, if I help someone else, they're going to take my spot. That's a fear-based attitude. The other camp is, if I help this other guy, he might put something good out, which means more people will read, and that will be good for the entire industry. And I'm in that camp. I always believe that. My start on that happened when I was 14. I got to meet, I was very fortunate, I got to meet and know Ray Bradbury and Richard Matheson and a few other celebrated authors when I was a teenager. The librarian in my middle school was a secretary for a writers group, and she would drag me along to these meetings, and I'd be fetching them beers and then listening to them talk, and Bradbury gave me a lot of advice, and so did Matheson, and they both said the same thing: you should always look to help other writers. Now, I'm very fortunate right now in my career, and that my career seems to be doing really well despite the economy. I have a lot of friends who are struggling, some who haven't made the step in, some who have gotten kind of knocked back. It makes no sense for us all to kind of row in different directions. So things like the panel discussions, an anthology, for example, most anthologies are anchored by 2 or 3 big names and a lot of folks who are in the middle and some brand new guys. And unfortunately, the big names tend to get all the press. That's not fair. So I started doing things where I'd interview the entire lineup of an anthology and ask them all the same questions. And you can find out that everyone has something interesting to say. And building on that, I then decided to do it just on themes, like with zombies. I'll ask people all through the zombie community, a couple of questions, and I'll get, Robert Kirkman and Max Brooks and guys like that, all the way down to guys who are just breaking in. And I found that across the board, there are interesting things to say. So I just let the audience have fun hearing all of it. And it seems to uplift everyone, and I have a blast doing it. So
it sounds great. I try to do that with podcasting. I have a lot of people who come up to me and say they don't know how to get started. They want to get started. And I say, if you want to do it and you can't afford to host it, I will host it on my site. And met a couple people last weekend that we're going to be starting side projects on. It's really important for all. I think that's...
Well, if you stay too isolated, then you just kind of fall behind a little bit, I think, too.
Well, that too, yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Besides, you can only steal ideas from other people, so that's what we use it for.
No,
and the same thing is when I communicate with readers. A lot of people are surprised that I always answer readers' letters. I'm always back and forth on Facebook and Twitter. I'm a reader too. I'm a pop culture geek. Mm-hmm. So why would I not want to get in there and share and have fun with the stuff that I enjoy doing? We're all basically hanging out talking, and that's great for everyone. Just lifts everyone up. It's a lot of fun.
And you definitely like to do that, and you've done some awesome projects. I mean, it definitely, a lot of people probably don't realize as much. I mean, like with your Marvel Zombies and Wolverine and those, I love those comics. I'm not a big Marvel fan, but I love those just maybe because the zombie crossover, of course.
Yeah.
And tell us a little bit about Marvel Zombies and
Well, that I got into Marvel because of my zombies, but it was because of Patient Zero, my first zombie novel, which was a mainstream thriller. And the editor-in-chief at Marvel, Axel Alonso, called me up out of the blue. I mean, literally out of the blue, and said, "Hi, I'm Axel Alonso. You have any interest in writing for Marvel?" Jeez. I thought I was being punked, of course.
Right. What an insane call to get.
Really, it's like one of those things where I was so glad that this was happening by phone, because I have a really good professional phone voice. I'm like, well, of course, if we can work out the numbers and but physically I'm doing the Snoopy dance around the house. So I started writing for Marvel, and then after I've been writing for them about a year, the opportunity came up to participate in the team for Marvel Zombies Return. And that was a blast. It was Seth Grahame-Smith, who did Pride and Prejudice and Zombies, David Wellington, who did that brilliant Monster Island, Monster Nation, Monster Planet series, Fred Van Lent, who I think did, was it Cowboys and Aliens? So I mean, we had a kind of a cool crew, and we were allowed to just go hog wild. So I basically got a chance for killing a whole bunch of Marvel superheroes off with zombies.
And it's awesome.
Turn that down, And it was a New York Times bestseller too, which was great. It was my first graphic novel bestseller.
Yeah. Wow. Not only is the story great, but the artwork in it and everything that is spun came from that is really great.
And I've also had a chance to work on 2 kind of zombie-esque projects for Marvel. which is Marvel Universe versus Punisher and Marvel Universe versus Wolverine. It's more like 28 Days Later meets the Marvel Universe.
Oh, wow.
And as of yesterday, I found out they're on the preliminary ballot for the Bram Stoker Award in the graphic novel category.
Excellent. How many would that make that you've won?
Well, I've won 2 so far, and I'm on the preliminary ballot, not the
Yeah.
final ballot, preliminary ballot for 3 this year for those 2 graphic novels and for my second young adult zombie novel, Dust and Decay. But there's a heck of a lineup of guys in the preliminary ballot, so I'll be happy to even get 1 slot on that. There's I mean, Joe Hill's on there, and Alan Moore's on there, and Stephen King's on there, so yikes.
You're running with a good crew, though.
Yeah, it's a good crew.
That's awesome. So the rumors around the net have been that Patient Zero was supposed to get a TV series and got shelved because of Charlie's Angels. Is there talk that that's coming back? What's the?
Well, it got all the way down to the wire, and they went with Charlie's Angels instead, which lasted 2 episodes, 3 episodes.
Yeah.
They're kicking themselves for that choice.
For shame.
I think we all cried a little on that.
Yeah.
But right now, we've pulled the option back, and we're repositioning it. Instead of going out with Patient Zero as the front story, we're going with King of Plagues, the 3rd in the series, because it's a little more mainstream, and we don't want to pitch it as another zombie show for television, because there is a zombie show for television. It's a great one, Walking Dead. So we're pitching it as weird science and special ops. That's the basic premise. It's Michael Crichton meets 24. And that's what we're pitching right now, and that's out to some pretty interesting places, so we're seeing what happens there. And we've got some stronger film interest in a couple of other products, including the Rotten Ruins series, where
Nice.
I'm hoping to make an announcement sometime soon on that.
So, is Dead of Night your first standalone zombie novel?
Yes, and it's only my second standalone novel. The other standalone was the Wolfman adaptation novelization.
And
But it's my first standalone novel, and we are now in the process of pitching 2 new standalone novels, one of which is a straight serial killer story, and the other one's a werewolf story.
Nice. You need more werewolves.
Yeah. Werewolves have always been maligned.
Yeah, the werewolf story is actually an expansion of a short story I did called Like Part of the Family, which is a fun, noirish private investigator thing who happens to have a connection to the Benindante, which is I don't know if you know much about folklore, but there's a legend in Italy and Germany going back centuries of families that were supposed to be werewolves. At night they would turn into werewolves and fight evil. And a couple of them were actually arrested by the Inquisition and tortured to try to get them to confess and say that they were actually serving the devil, and they couldn't break them. So the Inquisition actually let this one guy, Tice, go and said, you have such power, you obviously must be on the side of heaven. So they let him go, and they nicknamed him the Hound of God.
Wow.
Oh, wow.
So it's in church records that there were werewolves fighting evil. I love that.
That is awesome. That is amazing.
So I'm building a pitch for a novel about that.
That is great. I recently read. I'd never heard of the werewolves, but I read about in Italy there were a group of witches that claimed to fight. There were men that claimed to fight evil with their witchcraft from God, and it was a big conflict.
Yeah, and that's tied also vampires to the Strigoni Benefici. Yes. There were a bunch of vampires that were supposedly arrested by monks and encouraged to accept God again, and you can read that as torture. And once they did, they were used as supernatural hitmen for the church. I love church history.
Yes.
It's so amazing.
I love church history. It's such a deep well to fish in if you're a writer.
Yes.
Wow.
I bet. So going back to this being the standalone, how was it different and doing so many series and then actually writing a zombie standalone? Were you really involved with these characters more than the series, knowing that you had to wrap it up within so many pages, or?
It's it. I always fall in love with my characters. I really do, and I love the 3 central characters in the story: Billy Trout, the reporter; Des Fox, who was the female lead cop, and her partner JT. I love all 3 of the characters. And one of the things about a standalone is that nobody is safe, and you get a chance to really explore the potential for any character to to be killed, to be taken off the board, and that's a lot of creative freedom. A lot of some of the stuff that you would almost hesitate doing in a series because fans would kill you, you can do in a standalone. Of course, in my series, I tend to kill off characters too, but there's definitely more freedom to do that in a standalone.
I like the angles that you go about to share the story. I'm really enjoying Dead of Night.
Thanks.
I love it. So far, it's great, and I will keep our listeners up to date once I finish it of how.
Yeah.
I enjoy
People
it.
keep asking me if there's going to be a sequel. I don't have one planned at the moment, but I'm open to the possibility of it. There's a storyline left unresolved at the end of this that I could follow. Not going to give you the spoilers, but there are going to be other stories set in the same world. There's an anthology coming out next June called 21st Century Dead, edited by Christopher Golden. And I have a novella in there called Jack and Jill, which takes place at the same time as Dead of Night, but with a completely different cast of characters. There's a little kid dying of leukemia during an apocalyptic zombie plague. So his take on death might be a little different than someone who thinks they have a future.
Oh wow, that's fascinating.
Yeah.
Definitely keep an eye out for that. Going back to your love for the community and helping each other out, can you talk to us a little bit about your 3-hour networking session that you do?
The Writers Coffee House is a lot of fun. I started it 8 years ago at a little place called the Writers Corner, which was a little nonprofit in Doylestown that unfortunately didn't survive the economic crunch. But I kept the coffee house alive because it was a place for writers to come and just talk. And writers don't really do well if they don't get a chance to talk to other writers. They think that all the problems they're hitting, doubts about their work and doubts about the future and even doubts about their craft, they think all of that's unique to them until they start talking about other writers and finding out everybody goes through it. And that really helps when you realize that these are common to what you are, to a writer. And also, writers tend to prosper really well just by networking. So I started it. I moved it to a couple different venues, just inviting people to come once a month, 3 hours, sit down, have some coffee, talk about writing. And now we're to the point where we're at the Willow Grove Barnes and Noble, and we have 90 people coming, and we've outgrown our space. So and it's now no longer being hosted just by me. It's being hosted by the Liars Club, which is a group of 13 writers from the Philly area, including our newest member, Steve Susko, the screenwriter for The Grudge. It's an interesting group, but we're going to be expanding the Liars Club, the coffee house out to as many as maybe 4 or 5 different venues per month, so that each one isn't as crowded, but we draw on different elements of the community. Because the Liars Club's the entire agenda there is to build community for writers and help them be better at their business and at the craft. So it's coming really well, and we have a very good chance of going national with it. I have a lot of my writer colleagues who think they might like to host a coffee house, in their town. So maybe this time next year we'll be going national.
That'd be awesome. I would be really interested, and definitely keep us in the loop in it. Because if you need anything on local, feet on the ground, let me know.
That would be great.
We'll bring it here to
we have
Virginia.
some. I can't spill any names now, but we've got some really interesting big names who are thinking about doing a coffee house, and
Wow,
it'll make a heck of a press release when we announce it.
That's great.
that's exciting. That's exciting.
Yeah,
We'll definitely keep us in the loop on that because I want to.
I will.
So you were talking about before the show another project that you do or that's in the works that you just finished up tonight. Plan 7.
Yeah, there's an anthology coming out edited by Tony Schaub called Before Plan 9. It's plans 1 through 8.
Nice.
And they got a bunch of guys, Joe McKinney and a bunch of other guys to write stories that were the first 7 plans, or the first 8 plans rather, and they range from really intense horror stories to science fiction to comedy. Mine is Plan 7 from Sin City, which is set in Vegas. And deals with Area 51, and I had some fun with that. I literally finished it, 10 minutes before we started taping, and I had a blast with that. And I think it's going to be a heck of a good book.
That is a great idea because if Plan 9, the best they could come up with was Raising Vampire and Tor Johnson, and what the hell happened in the previous 8 where they were like, this one is going to be the one. We've mucked around for too long.
It's fun to tie them into also some of the actual beliefs and conspiracy theories, and we all had a little bit of fun doing that to give it a little more substance. I mean, if you actually look at the basic plot of Plan 9, there's the skeleton of a good story there.
Mm-hmm.
It's just Ed Wood was not the guy to tell that story. God knows it's entertaining, but it's just not well thought out. But you could have built a good story on that. So we took a swing at it, and I thank Tony Schaub for putting this idea together. It's a hoot.
Is there a time frame on this, or?
That I don't know at the moment. I don't think Tony's told me. It is going to be in the next few months, though, because they've already got the cover. They've got most of the stories. I was one of the last guys to get a story in, because I'm running like 9 projects at once, so I'm a little tardy.
How do you do that? I saw somewhere that you actually map out your day, in a sense, where you like 30 minutes here, 40 minutes here, doing, because you have like 9 projects going on all the time, it seems.
Yeah, it's weird. When I made a switch from nonfiction to fiction back in 2005, my intention had been, to throw some irons in the fire and hope one of them would get hot. And they all got hot. So it's what the French call an embarrassment of riches, where you have more things to do, more work. I'm actually turning down work which I thought I would never do, and it's actually physically painful to say no to a project. But I'm writing 3 novels a year right now. I'm writing comic books. I'm writing a bunch of short stories and novellas. I have my own blog, and I'm cover quoting a lot of books. So my day, I have to budget my time out throughout the day. So yesterday, for example, which was a full writing day, I spent maybe 2 hours working on the short story. I spent a couple hours working on Extinction Machine, which is my next Joe Ledger thriller. I wrote a couple of synopses for books that were pitching. I tweaked a pitch and part of a script for something I'm doing for Marvel. All of that is budgeted out throughout the day, and then also allowing a little bit of time each hour to do social media. It's what you got to do, and
you're living the life, that's for sure.
I really am. I'm the happiest guy I know. I mean, I'm actually living the dream I thought about when I was a kid that I thought was impossible to get to. Writing Marvel comics, writing monsters, and things that blow up. I mean, come on.
The luckiest man alive right here.
Wow. That's totally not what when I think about a writer's day. You always see, like,
when you see the movies,
you see writers in the movies, it's like, I'm going to lock myself up in this cabin. I'm going to write this one book, and then
I'm looking out this window.
Yeah. I'm going to take care of this hotel.
Yeah. I love those. I love those. They're marvelous to see. The guy sits thoughtfully staring for a while. They'll type for 15 minutes during montage in the film, and then he's on the bestseller list. And if that were true for everyone, that would be marvelous. And I do know a few folks whose first project went, it was great. They wrote it and made them $1 million. I'm going to eventually kill them, because that's not the model everyone else is suffering through. It's a job. I mean, you're working a job. A lot of guys I know, probably 80-90% of the writers I know, they're working a day job and they're writing on the side, and they have to budget out. Well, can I sleep? Do I play with the kids? Do I, eat a meal, or do I get a page or 2 done? That's real dedication to the craft. I'm fortunate in that this is my day job, but it's still 8 to 10 hours of my ass in a chair typing. Wow. It's my job.
And there's days that you're just like, you're not up to it. Your spirits are not ready for it.
No,
or
there are no days when you have an advance. There are no days when you're not. Because there's a whole returning the advance thing. It just does play.
It doesn't feel right.
Yeah, mind you, there are days when your output is not as readable as you would like. I've had a couple of those days where next day I've read what I wrote the day before, and I'm wondering what kind of cerebral accident I might have had. I don't remember drinking that day, but it reads like I was drunk. But you work that in, and you just keep going. The whole thing about writer's block, I have never met a writer with either a serious deadline from a professional editor or an advance, whoever gets writer's block.
Right.
Because you write something. If it's bad, fix it next day, but get something down on paper.
Yeah. Wow. I've done that with music, where I record all night, and I'm like, just brilliant. And then when you go over it in the morning, you're just like, what a-hole. How did I come up with this? This is awful.
I have some pages I wrote. I mean, I don't take days off even when I've had surgery. I had knee replacement surgery about a year ago. I even wrote that day. It's not readable. I'm not sure what language it was written in, but there are several pages.
Yeah, it was written in morphine.
Which, by the way, is fun to write in, just not as rewarding to read the next day.
Right.
So you can have later in your life, you can have the morphine series. You know,
That's right.
just-
It really
Oh,
flowed.
If I were to take morphine, if I could then read what I wrote, that'd be
Yeah.
interesting.
Yeah.
So with that saying, you actually use pen and paper. You don't use digital.
Oh no, I use digital.
Yeah.
I'll use pen and paper like when I don't have access to my laptop for any reason. Like at night when I'm in bed waiting for my wife to get out of the bathroom. I'm usually scribbling a couple of notes for the next day. But my laptop is my office. It goes everywhere with me.
Yeah.
And I do about 3,000 words a day on average.
Wow, that's good stuff. So I have to ask you about this because I find this highly fascinating.
I already know what you're gonna ask.
You're inducted in the International Martial Arts Hall of Fame.
Yep.
This is so exciting because we had a feature on our show once all about the Chuck Norris pants.
That's right.
You
We did.
could buy.
I used to know Chuck pretty well way back in the day too, and his brother Aaron, both nice guys back.
Did
But
you have
yeah,
the pants?
I've been involved in jiu-jitsu and kenjutsu for I guess 48, 49 years now.
Oh wow.
Started when I was 6. I was 6 was 48 years. My first probably 400, 500 magazine articles and the first dozen books were all martial arts related.
Wow.
I've written tons of stuff on it. I've written textbooks for college courses, mass market books, training manuals for SWAT, all sorts of things. And it was a big part of my life for most of my life. I was taught martial arts history and women's defense at Temple University for years.
Wow.
So it was a big thing. And then largely because of my writing, I was inducted into the Martial Arts Hall of Fame, which was a fantastic honor. One I did not expect, because most of the guys getting those honors are Asian, thinner, and better looking. So I figured I had to have one token, big Sasquatch-looking guy in there, and it was great. Bill Wallace was there, and Cynthia Rothrock, and a bunch of other folks, and it was wonderful. But it's not like I wake up in the morning and say, "Damn, I'm in the International Martial Arts Hall of Fame. Let me go,
Right.
catch flies with chopsticks."
Yeah.
But you've used that statement in a conversation, haven't
Right.
you?
Yeah.
It's one of those things I try, except for my bio, I never drop it.
Yeah.
Really?
It seems like too awkward to squeeze into a sentence because what does the other guy have to say? In return, I walked on the moon.
Yeah.
What I think what you could do, book trailers on YouTube are very popular. You could hold up a book and say, "Buy my book, I'll kick your ass."
That's right.
Yeah, well, I'd rather just take all that knowledge and put it into fight scenes.
Yeah.
There
we
we have a lot
There
of
we
fun doing that. And yes, some of the people whose asses get kicked in there are people I've met in life who I feel need a good ass kicking.
So how does that affect your social life when you publicly announce the people in your book or the people you really want, to beat them up, and they see you after reading the book and say, "Oh, hey."
Well, the ones who most of the folks who get hurt in my books are my close friends.
Yeah.
In fact, one of my first Punisher comic, I had a guy in there who was a pedophile who worked in distribution for snuff porn. And he's like a Quaker guy I know from here. He was a great novelist and a close friend of mine, Dennis Nafoya. So I nicknamed him Dirtbox in the story and just had horrible things happen to him. And then the Punisher blows his head off. He was ecstatic. He's so happy. He tells everyone.
Wow.
So, every time I need someone to die in a horrible way, like my friend Jeff Strauss, who's my webmaster, I needed someone to get his face eaten off in dead of night. So, I said, Jeff, I just texted him, Jeff, I just said, you just got your face eaten off. He's like, cool. He tells everyone.
Well, and I like the subtle, I guess, jabs, like when Dez was going off at the first of the book, and you said something to the fact that it was language reserved for lawyers of ex-wives, and then there was editors.
Yeah.
Within, and I was like,
I've had some editors in the past who ideally I would love to see donated to biological research. Mostly though, I mean, and this is kind of rare. Most of my relationships with editors have been great, but I've had a couple that should not be around when I'm driving an SUV and they're walking across the street. I think we all have those people in our past.
well, excellent. Everybody should go to Jonathan's website. You want to give a plug on that?
Yeah, it's jonathanmaberry.com, and Maberry is Maberry. There's no Y in the middle. It's a blog. There's lots of fun stuff on there. There's a place to sign up for a newsletter, and we give away free stuff through the newsletter all the time. And I'm also on Facebook, Twitter, and everywhere else on the net. So stop by and introduce yourself, and let's talk pop culture.
And your book, Dead of Night, is available on Amazon, Barnes and Noble, pretty much.
Yeah, Dead of Night is available everywhere. It's in ebook, it's in print. They actually have it in trade paperback and hardback at the same time, which is kind of interesting. And also audiobook read by I don't know if you guys remember as little kids, Bob the Builder.
Yeah.
Guy who's the voice of Bob the Builder reads Dead of Night on audio.
We can do it.
Yeah, William Dufresne. I think that is the
that
coolest.
is all.
He called me, and I didn't know who it was at first, and he just starts talking to me as Bob the Builder on the phone, but he's reading lines from the serial killer in the book. Incredibly surreal moment. And he's a great guy. There's an interview with him on my blog. Yeah, Dead of Night is out there. It's I think it's the best thing I've written, and my readers seem to think so too. So yeah, I hope you enjoy it.
So is the audiobook available on audible.com and places like that, or is just
you can actually go to Macmillan Audio, to audible.com, to anywhere that sells audio downloads, and get it, and it's probably in your local library too, on disc.
All right. Well, I want to definitely thank you so much for taking your time out of your busy schedule to talk to us.
Oh, my pleasure, man. This is great.
One last question before you go. What is your favorite zombie movie and why?
This gets me a lot of heat from people, but my favorite zombie movie of all time is Zack Snyder's Dawn of the Dead, the remake, but the unrated director's cut with all the character development in it. I love the movie. The soundtrack is insanely great, and it shows what happens when you get really good quality actors in a zombie film. Yeah. It lifts the whole thing up. I love the Romero stuff. I love all the old stuff, but that movie is my favorite. I've probably watched it 50 times. So
you're not the type that says that zombies can't run.
No, I think if the story's right, they can play hopscotch if the story's right. And in my stories, I've got fast and slow zombies depending on the needs of the scene and the logic I put into it. Mm-hmm. In my young adult series, the Rotten Ruin series, they're getting faster as the series goes on.
Yeah.
So
as they learn or get used to it and are able to coordinate.
Yeah, or they're fresher and rigor hasn't set in yet.
Yeah.
So I actually have the science to defend why I think fast and slow zombies can exist within the same story. So I'm good with all of it if the story's good.
And I think that's what sets your books apart from most, is because the detailed research that is involved with it, the knowledge that you pull out from talking to all these experts and put in the story. I think that's what makes it work so much better than some others.
It makes it harder to just simply dismiss as, oh, that couldn't happen, because to a great degree a lot of it could. And you write what scares you, and misuse of science or science off the leash is what scares me. So I write about that, and I make sure that it's as creepy and as real as it can be.
Yes, and you've done a great job at it.
Thank you.
So please, everybody, head to his website, pick up his books, any of his books. They're all you won't be disappointed, guaranteed.
I'm gonna have to get some hand sanitizer. This whole parasite thing is.
Yeah. Well, and by the way, I can recommend a great book, Carl Zimmer's Parasite Rex, which is a nonfiction book that inspired the science in Dead of Night. I spoke with Carl quite a few times. That book makes you itch and makes you bathe all the time.
You just sit in the shower reading it.
Dude, I wanted to go do shots of Purell after reading it.
Right. Oh, wow.
I would check that out.
It's like when I used to do pest control.
No fun.
Yeah.
Well, once again, thank you so much for hanging out with us tonight. You'll be doing a guest blog in the next couple of days on Zombie Popcorn. So everybody should check that out. It's going to be worth it. Thank you, Jonathan.
And thanks for having me, guys.
Thank you.
Have a good night.
You too.
I am so glad Jonathan came on this show. It's awesome. We've talked a long time ago, back when the Zombie Research Council or Society, when they were starting that, because he's on the advisory board for that. Mm-hmm. And I remember when Patient Zero came out, it was pretty awesome. And we talked about it during the interview. I was just so happy he came on the show.
Yeah, that's awesome. It's weird talking to someone successful because you're like, oh, that's what it's like.
He's totally living the life, though. He's totally got everything he wants to do. It's awesome. I'm proud of him. I mean, I don't know him, but
still,
well,
we will live vicariously through him.
No, I mean,
I will.
Well, the fact that he supports other writers. He's not just like, I'm in my little hole writing books and
I'm awesome. Here's the next one now.
No, he's out doing
that's awesome.
what he has to do to help other people, and I think it's great. He's busy. So yeah. No, but I'm reading the book. I was reading it all day at work today, and it's definitely you hear people say it's a page turner. This one is really, because I really want to know what's going to happen, because it's fucked up.
That's cool.
Yeah. So, but enough of that. We talked to him long enough. So let's move on with the show. Parasites. Look, I'm scratching.
I know we all are. I was kind of like.
So we didn't do a show last. You just moved over. So we didn't do a show last weekend because we were at MarsCon.
You were at MarsCon.
Yeah. And Bob was at MarsCon. Bob had to work tonight because he was at MarsCon last week. He has to work this weekend.
How was it?
It was awesomely fun. It was awesome. I mean, we did several panels. We met a lot of people. We've actually met people who listened to our show even before MarsCon.
That's so weird.
It's weird. And it was funny because there was one girl we were talking to, and she's like, yeah, when you said this, I was like, wait, I'm not listening to anything you're saying right now. You just said you listened to our show.
That's funny.
But they came to our panels, and I've met other people who are in the Norfolk, Virginia Beach area, who are doing podcasts, but they're having tech issues. And I told them,
we've had many a tech issue.
I could probably help you because I have experience in that.
Yeah.
And so I'm going to start working with them and get their tech issues out.
That's good.
We're going to be on their show. They're going to be on our show. Just
Cool.
And the panels were awesome. We had a lot of people show up for our panels. We got several podcasts from MarsCon up. I'm still not finished. I still have probably, I think, 4 more to edit and get up. And
whoa, what happened to I'm going to come home and stay up all night and have it up?
I've done that. I have other shows that I have to record.
Still.
There's a lot of stuff we recorded.
I think you've been staying up long enough.
Actually, I have. But it's pretty awesome. We got invited back next year.
Cool.
I got an email this morning, or not this morning. Was it this morning? Yesterday morning. I get my days mixed up.
I know.
Asking if we want to podcast RavenCon. And I think I'm going to say yes.
Awesome.
I think it's going to be good. The fact that, the very first con that we did was MarsCon. It started on Friday 13th in January. In April, RavenCon is on the 13th, which happens to be a Friday. So that's 2 Friday 13th in a row, 2 cons. And look, I have Zombie Popcorn merchandise. That's the Friday 13th poster with Zombie Popcorn. Coincidence? I think not. I don't even know what any of that means, but that's just exciting to me.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know why, but it's fun. And I have a meeting with somebody that on Monday just do some cross promotion stuff, which
I got the email.
Did you?
Yeah, well, because I get whatever emails go to the Zombie Popcorn Facebook page because you have me on as an administrator. A Facebook page, yeah.
Oh, you're talking, yeah. So you did say that. Well, that's not an email, though.
What do we do with the cross promotion? I'll let you answer that.
Yeah, so hopefully something good will come from that.
Cool.
But we'll keep you posted on that. And outside of that news, I have to talk about this news. I have the ASUS Transformer Prime. Look at that. And I have, they have live wallpapers, which are interactive
No,
background.
I had no idea.
And this, I currently have the Walking Dead live wallpaper on there, and it's cool because when zombies pop up, you can shoot them.
Yeah, it's like whack-a-mole.
It really is, but there's a lot of blood and gore. And I'm really liking the
That would have made that game so much better.
well, whack-a-mole.
Moles
There's
had,
blood.
like caps on them, and when you
And
hit,
blood
it
just
was
squirt.
Like kids
Yeah.
covered.
I think it would scar a lot of kids,
And
which makes it better.
the moles would scream.
Damn it! Why didn't they do it? I know what we're gonna work on.
Yeah.
Neighbor.
Maybe. So why did you guys check out all these books on hydraulics? Because we have a vision of a gory whack-a-mole.
Well, you know, Bob is an engineer,
That's right.
so we can
That's
figure
right.
this shit out.
He knows a lot more words than I do.
Yeah. So we could do this.
Yeah.
It'd be awesome.
Make Bob make it. We're just idea people, Bob.
I would figure this out, Bob. I mean, that's what they do with engineers. They're like, we have this idea.
their
You
job.
need to figure out this problem,
Do it.
and then that's what they do. So, Bob, if you're listening, we have a project. No, but it's awesome. So, wasn't really much in movie news this week,
No.
but they released the Resident Evil 6 trailer.
Which was almost a movie in
Yeah.
its own.
Man, was that not an epic trailer?
It's like
How long? Let me
8
see.
minutes or something.
It
I don't
was
know if that long,
crazy
but
long. Let me see. Let's see what the time frame on it
It
was.
was all really good except for that last voiceover part at the end. Resident Evil.
Well,
said.
but they say that on every
Do
at the
they?
end of. It's 3 minutes.
It was like 9 minutes all the time. It really did seem long though for.
No, it really did. I mean, but it was like
It's
so
just
much.
like nonstop editing on that thing.
Yeah, and so much stuff going on.
Yeah.
People
It looks
blowing
cool.
up. Yeah, it looks really good. It looks like it would be an awesome movie.
This is like Raccoon City all over again.
It's starting to look a lot
the
like.
sixth time this has happened or
Yeah,
something.
yeah, that's what he said. Mr. President.
Yeah. Wait a minute. 1, 2, 3, 4. Line cross through it an extra 1. This
That's
is 6.
Resident Evil 6. But it's starting to have a lot of similarities to Silent Hill and the way the video cuts and stuff are.
Yeah.
But I guess it's been that way for a while. Those two cross over and look the same.
Yeah. I'm just agreeing with you
Just
because I have
agree.
never played either of them.
Well, I'm going to loan you a PSP tonight and
And then I'll come back with bags under my eyes and a full beard.
no, I'll hear a knock at the door and I open it up and it's Jan with a bag that's with all these electronics, and then she goes, "Don't ever bring this."
He hasn't bathed in 7 days.
But that's normal.
Yeah.
But he's been playing this.
He made his own catheter out of household products.
But I want to show you this
Sanitize.
real quick. I downloaded this last night because it's.
Dude, was that a cartoon at one point too?
No, it was. I mean, it may have been, but it's always been.
I really think it was because I saw you put the picture up online, and I remember watching a cartoon.
Really?
Yeah.
But Dragon's Lair, the game, the full
maybe
game.
Played it. Was it on Nintendo?
Yeah, they had a home port for it. This was like one of the very first Laserdisc games that hit
Yeah.
back in '83, I think it was.
We should look up and see if it was ever a cartoon
I don't
because
know.
it looks so familiar to me.
I mean, it looked like a cartoon, but this is
Yeah.
the game. I mean, what a cheap way we're doing the videos.
Dude, this is so awesome.
It's awesome.
I totally watched this. Is the guy kind of dorky and not good at?
Well, I don't know. Let's see if there's. But you can play the full game now.
Wow.
On they've ported they took the master and ported it to Android, so you can play the entire game. I set up all night playing it. I was like, oh, I beat it, and I was like, I'm gonna have to play it again.
Wow.
I think there might have been. I don't know.
I'm so awful at video games. I think I've only ever beaten maybe 2 video games in my life.
Really. What
Yeah.
games were that?
Willow
Willow.
and yeah, we had Willow on Nintendo, which was really awesome. And that's the only one I've ever beaten without a code. Oh no, 3. There was one with Medieval 2. It was like a little skull guy running.
Oh
around
yeah,
with
yeah.
stuff.
I have that up for PSP.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I couldn't do it without the code. and Bad Dudes with the Code, where like you win and then you save Reagan and he says, "Thanks, dude. Let's go out and get a hamburger." And that's the end. It's
That's
totally
awesome.
bizarre.
Well, yeah, Dragon's Lair was a short-lived television cartoon series by the production people who made the
I knew I watched it.
1983 video game of the same name. 13 half-hour episodes were produced between 84 and 85, airing on ABC. Between the late 80s and the early 90s, the show
totally used
was...
to watch that.
Huh?
I used to watch that.
Really? I played the game. I never watched
I
the...
had no idea it was a game. I thought it was just a cartoon. Two worlds, man. They've come.
I know, and then now we're together.
It's like serendipity.
So what was the cartoon? I mean,
Pretty much with the intro of the game show.
So it was him trying to save
yeah, it
the
was him
girl.
just going on, you know. What is any kid's cartoon? I mean, you know, some shit happens and he learns a lesson at the end.
He
but-
didn't learn a lesson at the end of the game. He got the babe and was happy.
Yeah, I guess. Maybe
no
in the
lesson.
cartoon you learned how to share or something. I don't know.
With the dragon.
They had an
He
open
didn't slay the
relationship,
dragon. He
but,
just...
yeah.
Well, that's just fucked up. Why are they teaching morals through dragons?
I don't know. They used to do that.
What made me mad about that game was that it cost 50 cents. And if you messed up once, the game was over.
Oh, really?
And it was
you mean
a
in the
money muncher.
I never went to an arcade. As
I did
a
it at the
kid.
roller rink.
Oh, yeah. We had a 7-Eleven. Remember, used to have.
Yes,
video
I do,
games.
because I used to skip school and go play.
Yeah. I used to play. We used to play.
That's
I
why
was
I'm doing
telling Jay about it
podcasts
the
now,
other day.
kids. So stay in school.
That's right. Alter Beast. Was
I love
wasn't that awesome?
Rise from the grave.
And Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles was up there.
Yeah,
Contra was up there.
Contra, I do remember
Because
that.
they would rotate them out, you know. For a while, you'd go in there. 6 months later, and there'd be a new game. And the best one of all time, Shinobi.
Oh yes, I do remember that. The stars and everything. Yes,
That was the deal.
I played Alter Beast all the time, and then I got it. I think it was for the ColecoVision, or maybe it was the Atari
I know
2600.
they had it for the Sega Genesis.
Maybe that's what it was. I don't remember what gaming console, but I played it all the time.
Yeah.
Rise
I was
from
really
the-
good, man. It was so cool. It was
Yeah.
just like,
Did you see the movie The Last Exorcism?
yes.
They were making The Last Exorcism 2. They're gonna be starting. They're gonna
Well, then they're gonna
It's-
have to rename the first one.
that does
Because by
because
default,
they're saying that it's going to start shooting next month and it's rated R.
that was a good movie.
Was
I
it?
liked it a lot. Yeah. Like a lot. Like I went out and bought it.
Really? Is that good?
Yeah. I mean, I bought it at like a Blockbuster going out of
Yeah.
business sale, but
But it's
still.
worth for you to
Yeah.
actually
Yeah, I
pick
should
it up.
bring it over for you.
Well, apparently, because the first one was PG-13,
Really?
The Last Exorcism, and apparently it grossed $70 million worldwide.
Wow.
So
it
you know,
was good, man.
really,
And we've talked about it on here before. It was all plausible. There was nothing physically done that wasn't impossible.
yeah,
And so the whole time you're watching it, because it's about this guy who performs exorcisms,
really.
but he's a shyster. And he's like, he's been like, he was raised as a father who was like an evangelical, like mega church kind of guy. And he took the reins. And so he does this stuff and he's finally tired of it. And so he's going to expose all the stuff he does that's
Yeah.
fake. And he's making a documentary about it. And then he, you know, helps out this family. And first he thinks it's fake. And, you know, hilarity and calamity ensue. But, you know, there's none of the head spinning 360 degrees. Everything that happens could be done by a human.
Yeah.
Maybe a double-jointed human. But the girl that played the lead really did everything. She could bend, you know, this way or that way. And, you know, she'd be like up on the top of like a highboy or armoire or something, way up high. And you just, what the fuck is that? It's creepy.
Yeah.
But plausible, you know, not like she's floating in the air and the bed's floating. But, yeah, it's a good movie. I liked it a lot.
That's cool. So, The Last Exorcism, The Devil Inside, got a lot of bad reviews, but it did phenomenal at the box office.
I've heard from people that they liked it. Critics.
Yeah,
Well, we don't really listen to critics.
We do,
It's whatever.
we don't listen to anybody, but yeah. So, so you're excited that they're doing part 2?
I would say I'm excited, but yeah.
I mean,
if it looks good.
Yeah. No trailers yet, as you know. They're starting to shoot it. Were you into the Underworld films?
Yeah. I mean, they're fun.
Yeah, there's a new one in 3D.
It doesn't look as good to me.
I haven't seen the trailer to it yet.
I don't like that. Like regular people are in it now.
What do you mean,
It's
regular
like
people?
Humans are involved in the wars.
Oh yeah.
And I mean, it could be all right, but I kind of just like the underground, hidden world of vampires and werewolves. I don't. But
I guess I had to take it somewhere.
yeah. I mean, it's like number 4 or something. But I totally wanted to know what happened to the guy that was in the last one that was like half werewolf, half vampire, became this creepy hybrid, and this is a completely different storyline. So it doesn't look like, or maybe it was in the second one that happened, and then the third one they went back a ways. But anyway, yeah, I was hoping it would continue the storyline they had, and it doesn't look like it's going to.
Yeah.
So I don't.
Well, maybe there's maybe it's.
But it's a typical Underworld trailer.
Yeah. Guns blazing.
Yeah, and there's
the girl.
always one scene where it goes down on Kate Beckinsale's ass on every one.
Yeah.
And
well, that's what
this
sells.
one is no different.
That's what sells.
Yeah.
Right?
They filmed it in almost every angle imaginable.
But it's in 3D, and
yeah.
So the couch scene in Tron's just thrown out the window.
if you'll watch the trailer, yeah, they totally like go up behind her, climbing through like a, what is she, like in some like warehouse tunnel or something, and it's just like very gratuitous,
right.
And then it's just like 3D around her ass.
And you're like, word.
Yeah. That's worth an extra $250.
Okay, I'll see it. This is an IMAX.
Yeah.
Awesome. Any other films? Did you see any movies recently?
I haven't seen shit. I'm so poor.
Really?
Oh, we saw The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo.
Yeah, we talked about that. Did
Yeah,
we talk about it on the show?
We talked about that already. Yeah.
Yeah. I get mixed up what we talk about in real life.
I liked it. It was good.
Yeah.
But other than that, we haven't done anything.
Yeah.
Just
Wicker Tree's coming out very soon.
That's right.
They just on Friday they released 2 additional clips from the movie, teaser clips from it.
Nice.
I'm excited about this film. I've said it 100 times, but
I know. I hope it lives up to your expectations.
it probably won't.
Yeah, and they never do when you get that.
But if it does, hell yeah.
Yeah.
Snow White and the Huntsman added a new sneak peek trailer.
Yeah.
So that kind of looks good too.
Yeah. Yeah. I've been watching that show Once Upon a Time.
What is that?
It's on ABC. It's based off of the fairy tales. Everyone from the world of Grimm's fairy tales has been sent over to our dimension and are living in a little town called Storybrooke, and they don't know that they are the people they are. They think they're regular people.
Oh yeah, we talked about this.
Only person who knows is the evil queen, who's the mayor of the town, and the daughter of Snow White and the prince that has grown up and is now like in her 30s, is in the town because her adopted son is being raised by the evil queen, and he is the one who's saying everybody's from this story book and no one believes them. And
Yeah.
it's fun. It's really cool. It's a twist on all the usual stories that we know. Last week was Hansel and Gretel. And but so they'll go in between this world, what they're doing now, and then how they got there, or they'll go back to the fairy tale world. So it's going back and forth, and it's a lot of fun. You should check them out. I think you can watch them on Hulu. I think
they're on Hulu.
They were. I think they get taken down.
Yeah.
On a regular basis, but
that sucks.
Yeah.
Well, on Wednesday, George Lucas said that he's retiring.
I know.
He said, "quote I'm retiring. I'm moving away from the business, from the company, and all of this kind of stuff.
Yeah, he's gonna digitally re-image his grandchildren.
Well,
Still
pretty
back
much.
from Conan O'Brien, he said that.
But he said that he's going to leave. When he says the newspaper, he said there's a newspaper, in this article says that George Lucas was careful to leave himself out clause for a fifth Indiana Jones film. However, he's once this finished, he's done with everything he's ever wanted to do. He will have completed his task as a man and a filmmaker. So apparently,
it sounds like he's going off to die or something.
Maybe. Yeah, he's like a sick
He's
animal.
completed
He's just like
his life.
But apparently, he's not retiring. The way this makes it sound is he's not retiring until the fifth Indiana Jones film is made.
I hope it's better than the fourth.
But I don't understand why he would want to do another one. He's like, I don't know. I guess it's money and
Maybe because
and,
you're invested in the. Maybe they feel bad about the fourth one.
And they want to make up for it.
Yeah.
Well, next month.
There's like a smudge on your legacy, you know.
Yeah. What was I saying? Next month, the first episode 1 in 3D hits theaters, and there's rumors that he's not going to do the last 3 in 3D. Yeah.
He's like, whatever, I know.
But I
he's
think
not gonna do the last 3 in 3D.
Yeah.
But those are the 3 everybody wants to see.
Well, what I think it's going. I think this may be just a marketing thing.
Why would you put the first
because he can retire and still have the people render it in 3D.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not like they have to go back and film anything.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, I don't know.
I picture him like on a boat somewhere in the South Pacific, picking up some phone and just going like, "Go," and then everybody like starts the process of 3D, like when he's okay with it. I don't know.
He's retiring now, so when the 3D films come out and they're horrible, nobody can find him. Where's he at?
Yeah.
I don't know. Because I would like to know what 3D Movie Man thinks about the 2D 3D
so
conversion.
So when it comes out and you're on here going, "Worst 3D conversion ever," he's like in hiding somewhere.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, I have hope that he may do it justice. And that hurts me to say it. Because they've created the way I would like to in a perfect world. They've created a lot of stuff over the years for their films to make them good, and I would hate to see it done bad and just kind of half-assed just to make a buck.
Yeah,
but I guess we just have to wait to see. Lionsgate's film has acquired Summit Entertainment for $412.5 million.
Wow.
Summit Entertainment had the Hunger Games and owned the Twilight franchises. So now Lionsgate owns those.
Purchase. I like Lionsgate.
Yeah, they do good films. Oh, and I don't know if you saw the blog we wrote a while back, last week, but Repo the Genetic Opera.
Mm-hmm.
The people who made that are doing another opera type.
Really? That's cool.
But in the vein of, well, no, it's not going to be genetic, but it's going to be the underworld type stuff.
That's cool.
Yeah, so I'm excited about that.
I haven't heard anything about that.
Well, if you'd read the site, maybe.
I gotta work.
What's that?
I gotta work.
So?
Dude, I'm taking naps in the office.
Well,
man.
see, we need to figure out how to get digital eyelids for you.
That's right.
But A&E is developing a prequel, a psycho prequel.
Really?
Yeah.
Nah.
You're like,
you know what I am excited about? February, The Lady in Black comes out.
What is that?
It's Daniel Radcliffe.
Harry Potter?
Harry Potter.
No.
Yeah, a lady, but yeah, what we talked about this. It's like a total Victorian ghost story. Like,
Well, I know we've talked about it, but maybe our listeners didn't hear that episode.
well, that's true. Maybe they didn't. I don't know enough about it. I'm just trying to wait for this episode to end because
That's sad.
it is sad.
That is sad.
I'm unfocused.
Well, focus. I'll get the electrical prod out again.
That's right. Get the cattle prod out. No, yeah. I mean, the trailers haven't been that long for him. And it's pretty vague. Daniel Radcliffe walks up to a house. There's some creepy shit. They go, the lady in black, whoever sees her, bad shit happens, and then he's like, what? Oh, and that's about it. But it looks good.
It sounds great.
Yeah, it sounds amazing. I'm so glad I don't pitch stuff for a living. It'd be awful. Yeah.
Because you'd be amazing.
Clearly, I need to take some of those writing courses that are being offered at the coffee houses. Yeah, I mean, I know almost nothing about it, but it has the the Victorian ghost story, which is like my favorite type of story.
Yeah.
So, well, except for maybe post-apocalyptic, but we could somehow combine the two.
That'd be awesome.
Yeah.
Do you use Netflix, right? You watch?
Yes.
What do you think about Warner Brothers pulling their movies from Netflix?
I haven't heard anything.
Well, it's supposed to. Well, they just got an extension. They were supposed to do it. I think it was the 1st of this year. Either the 1st of this year or 1st of February. But they just got a 56-day extension, and then once that happens, they're gonna pull all the Warner Brothers films from Netflix.
That sucks.
Yeah,
It's that's a lot. Netflix is enabling piracy by that.
Man, I don't know. That whole fucking thing is messed up.
Yeah, once that SOPA law goes in, we'll all be better off.
Yeah. Well, it's funny because we were talking about SOPA at work the other day. There was nobody in the store, and we were just sitting there, and I was talking about it. And in mid-sentence, a customer walks in, hears me talking about it, and turns to me and goes, "What? You want people to pirate movies and steal from people?" And I looked at him. I was like, "This has nothing to do with that. By putting up a government-owned firewall, it's not going to stop piracy." No. I said that countries like China have a government-controlled firewall that blocks stuff. But piracy's not dead in China. In fact, it thrives. They have physical stores that are nothing more than.
We'll just go out in the street and get,
I mean, it's not like piracy that we see, the New York subway, where they have a little piece of, cloth laid down with burned DVDs and stuff on it. They actually have stores that look like Apple stores.
Yeah, or they have an IKEA that's a ripoff of that.
Yeah.
Only you can get the Chinese food instead of the Swedish meatball. Food looked good too. I saw the pictures online. I was like, damn, I would eat that too. I bet that's a good price. Just like
it drives me nuts that people think if we get a government controlled firewall that blocks foreign sites, that will somehow magically stop piracy.
Yeah, no, there's always a workaround for piracy.
That just makes it so.
That's the second oldest profession.
Yeah,
I mean, it really is.
And it's funny. There was an article that came out. I wish I could remember where I read it. Where was it? But they were talking about how the printing press and newspapers was created because of piracy. Pirates created that. Because people.
Well, the printing press was created by Gutenberg.
No, I'm saying that they
because he wanted to mass produce a Bible, but
fuck the Bible.
Yeah.
But no, people were only certain elite people had books and stuff, and we're not sharing it. So pirates were making copies of it and printing it, and that's what kicked off books and stuff, and piracy helped. But anyway, it was a good article. If I can find it, I'll put it in the show notes.
Barnes & Noble is one of the worst offenders. They're just sending books out to everybody. Not keeping that info to the select divine rulers. Yeah, I know what you're saying. I'm all for paying for stuff. I don't want...
but
piracy sucks. Especially for someone who's never made any money off my music.
Yeah. Well,
it's just because I'm not good.
But there's a difference between actually trying to stop piracy. Nobody's saying that piracy is good.
Something incredibly vague.
Yes, and that would punish people who, I mean,
and blacklist them.
Well, it's not even just vague. It's actually detailed to the extent that if your site links to a site that links to a site that has pirated material,
Right.
your site can be taken down.
Yeah.
So that's just like you say, like if I wrote a blog post and I said this site you can watch, Itchy the Killer or something or whatever, and they happen to be pirated and don't have the rights to it. Instead of just having that content removed from the site, they shut down my site. They shut down that site. I wasn't pirating.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the purpose of the internet is to share
Media.
Yeah.
Or information.
Well, media too. I mean, it's all the
media
same.
Is information. I guess so.
But Rupert Murdoch, he says that putting a link to even the New York Times is piracy.
Great.
Yeah.
So now we just will not have any links to anything.
It's just these old fucks don't understand what the internet is and how it's supposed to be used.
Yeah.
They are stuck in old school thought.
Yeah, it's an old method of doing.
And I just don't understand. Is like, okay, I understand there are generation issues of where some people don't understand fully of the newer things that come out. We will once in our lives get to that point where a new technology comes out and we're just like, what the fuck is that? But you know what?
Hologram sex toys. That makes no sense.
But if you set me down and gave me at least 30 minutes to show me how it works, I think I could have a grasp on it.
Yeah.
For some reason, these leaders and these people, when they are set down,
because it's a whole black and white thing. They see on or off, yes or no.
They see dollar bills because it's the media that's,
that too.
The big.
Yeah, it's weird. No one's covering the story at all.
Nobody is, because you know why? The news outlets are owned by the people who are trying to pass this bill.
And I hate conspiracy theories and like, well, the man, I fucking hate that. But in this case,
this is real. This is
just like, this is what those crazy fucks have been talking about forever.
Damn. No.
I saw another thing on Facebook that was like, someone put, it was like, Black March or something. Don't buy any DVDs or CDs or whatever to boycott, all this stuff, because that'll fuck up all the record companies and stuff. They're like quarterly earnings. And it's like kind of cool, but one of the guys I know on there owns an indie label, and he's like, "What the fuck, man?
I'm actually paying my artist."
Yeah, exactly. He's like, this is one of the many things. I got to work like 9 jobs because I like to do this. So that's completely retarded. Like, don't do anything. Just if you want to do that, buy from
independent, support independent.
But it's just like, and that's the problem with this is a lot of everyone's steals because they're like, fuck the big labels. But
I don't think
but they do it with the small labels too. And it's like, dude, these are guys who got their second bedroom is filled with stockpiles of CDs.
I don't know whether those, but I think majority. I mean, there are people out there that just steal for stealing's sake.
They're like crackheads, man. They like got to get the fix of free music, free whatever.
But I think a majority of society, and there's been reports that shown it, that people will download before buying, will download quote unquote illegal, and
then purchase,
and purchase it later, whether they can afford it at the time or they just want to test run it or whatever. And the studies have shown when the industry sets up something that's easy, convenient, and affordable, people buy it. Yeah. People do it. I mean, like for example, and I'm gonna go out on the world. I had the iPhone, the first gen iPhone, and I jailbroke it, and I knew I was getting an Android tablet eventually. And I during the times that I was trying to figure out what Android tablet I wanted, I put Android on this phone, and I downloaded apps without paying for them just so I could test them out to see if I really wanted them. One app that I downloaded, I tested it on there. It worked beautifully. The first app that I downloaded on my tablet was that app that I stole on the phone. I paid for it in full. It was $5.99, and I use it.
Yeah.
But I mean, and that's how I do it. I know not everybody does it that way,
Yeah.
but when you don't offer me an option to preview something, and then I either buy it and
Well, everything should have a preview.
no, everything should.
Yeah.
But if you don't offer that, don't expect me to flat out buy it unless I've already kicked it around and played with it.
Yeah.
Like for this tablet, I could have pre-ordered it way sooner than what I got it, but I wanted to go touch it, feel it,
Yeah. Oh, of course.
and do that. And that's what I want to do with music. That's what I want to do with movies. That's what and that's what I do. Everything that I've downloaded, I've eventually bought later.
I don't believe that people. I think a portion of them go and do it, and purchase it afterwards. But I don't believe that people are good. So I believe that I think people usually say 70% of the human race is good, and then there's the 30% that I feel the numbers are wrong. So I have no faith in our world. So.
Wow.
And I'm too apathetic to really do anything about it but watch.
So you're just screwed.
Yeah. So it's my own fault, but fuck it. Whatever.
Fuck it. Whatever. No, but I'm the opposite. I feel a desire to, when something pisses me off, do something about it. And it gets me in more trouble than not. But
yeah.
I just
don't get that angry over it.
Well, it's not anger. It's just I just feel a desire that I need to do it. Like at work and stuff. Anytime my employer does something stupid, I fight it. And I know one day he's just gonna go, "I'm sick of you." I
can't fight my employer.
That's one day they're just gonna say, "You know what? We're sick of you." See you later. But until then, I scream.
And then you won't have all that insurance and.
Yeah, because I have it now, and that's what I'm fighting for. That's what I'm yelling at him for.
Yeah, well, that's completely understandable.
But yeah, that's a whole different story. So I don't know how we got on this, but yeah, SOPA. I'm really shocked at how many people out there, and it's because the media is not covering it, have a very distorted view, and they support this.
Yeah. Well, I mean, if you put a good name on anything.
You think SOPA is a good name?
No, but it's the anti-piracy law.
Well, that's what.
And so people go, yeah, I'm behind it. It's like, but then there's a bunch of other crap. So suppose you had all these fucked up rules, but it was like, don't curb stomp babies law. People would be like, I'm behind that, but under that. Because of course no one wants to curb stomp babies.
Yeah.
It's awful. But then if the law had a whole bunch of fucked up crap under it, you're like, what do you mean? You support curb stomping babies? No, I don't. But this law comes with a bunch of other shit with it,
And that's what they do. I mean,
you hate babies and you want to, it makes no sense.
And that's what they do. It's like we talk about on this non-religious life. The biggest hardcore Christian fundamentalist groups have names like that, like Focus on the Family.
Yeah. What do you mean? You hate family? No, I love family. I have a family. I love them. But that doesn't mean I want all the other crap that comes with,
I mean, when they're labeled as a hate group because of the things that they say and do, you're like,
I want my shit a la carte, I want it like a Mexican restaurant.
That would be like Sopapilla.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, we should go out on that. That's already top.
Dude, I do love me some Sopapilla.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
The other night we got bored, so I finally we bought all these, the small flour tortillas. Normally we buy the big ones. And I was like, wait a minute. I've got cinnamon and sugar.
Ooh.
I've got oil, a knife, tortillas, and a pan.
It's on.
Yeah, that shit was so good. They're not sopapillas, but they call them, whatever.
Yeah.
But, oh my God.
It's good. I miss them. Mm. I remember.
Yeah. Well, I wasn't sure what the ratio was to mix the sugar.
Oh yeah.
Just because I'm looking it up and just to make sure how long to cook them. I mean, you can pretty much figure that out on your own.
When it goes.
Yeah. But the website I got the thing off of with the ratios of cinnamon to sugar was called Homesick Texan. And,
it's not my site. I didn't write that.
No, but good recipes on there.
Awesome. But I guess that's all we got. Twilight Breaking Dawn hits DVD on the 11th of February. Yay!
it does.
That makes me happy.
Yeah,
Not
well,
really.
you've got the active Twilight screensaver.
Yeah,
I
the
just
li-
saw
the
you
li-
put it on there.
Yeah, I sure did.
And you've already pre-ordered, which is good.
Shh.
And
We're
you
not
need the
supposed to-
Blu-ray so you can get your DVD and your digital copy.
Yeah, it's true. I'm sorry. What am I gonna do? Oh, I know what we can do. We can wrap up the show.
Sounds like a plan.
Thanks for tuning in. If you haven't already, head to Jonathan's site, pick up his book, go to Amazon, wherever, get Dead of Night. It is a really, really good book. I think I've said that 100 times tonight. It is definitely a good book. Go check it out. Pick it up, read it.
Turn.
You can also get it on audio. Get the audio.
Read by Bob the Builder.
I know.
Which is
How awesome is that?
surreal, isn't it?
He just kept going. I was like, this is not real, man.
Yeah.
this is not happening. But it is. So that's awesome.
That is really cool.
So definitely check that out.
Play it for your kids. They know Bob the Builder.
Yeah. They'll be like crying. What the fuck?
Mommy, what's up?
I'm actually going to have to put Audible on here so I can download just that, because the shit that I've been reading in this book, I would love to hear him say it.
Right. That's funny.
Because it would be scary. But anyway. So thanks for listening. Stay tuned. We have a lot of awesome stuff coming up. Keep an eye out for Jonathan's guest blog post on the site. And we'll see you next time.
Have a good night.
Have a good night.